1, 2, 3. Thought you weren't going to clap for a second there.
Oh, come on. As if I'd miss what remains one of my favorite couple of seconds of the week. Look, I'm almost tempted to say I'm sorry before we start here for plowing the usual well-worn furrows, right? But I've got my fucking preoccupations. I've got the topics which concern me. I've got the things which I think about. And I want to return to them, and I want to explore them, and I want to talk these out, because that's the Jack of all Graves way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's prerogative.
That's my prerogative. That's my prerogative. It's the way that I want to live. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, but it's always nice to drop.
No, it was delightful though.
Is he okay? Bobby Brown is okay.
Like in like his health, or like is he like a shit person?
Yeah, is it fine to support Bobby Brown's music?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
He did.
He did a lot of drugs. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I think he also kept Whitney.
See, that's my thought process. I'm like, yeah, not a lot of like great dudes at that point who are wealthy and doing a lot of drugs and being married to people.
I digress. Look what you've done. You've taken me down a fucking Bobby Brown rabbit hole.
This is certainly my fault.
Look, again, I apologize. I need to talk this stuff out, because this is, believe it or not, right? And I'm not wow always me, but JOAG is pretty much the only space I have to talk this shit out, right?
Of course, yeah. That's what we're here for.
So back to the spike. Back to the seemingly, limitless. There's no upper limit on where this spike is going to climb to. There's no ceiling for it. There's no apex apparently yet. Up and up it goes, right?
Of course.
So, of course, of the mighty Omicron variant.
Yeah.
And my thoughts have been very preoccupied with ideas of mutation. And adaptation, life, finding a fucking way, mate. Right? Because holy shit, man. All right, he's fictional, but Ian Malcolm was right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I would also humbly suggest there's our title. Ian Malcolm was right. He fucking nailed it. It's incredible the degrees to which life finds a way, I've been thinking a lot about mutation, about evolution, about how, mutation is the precursor to evolution. Single fucking genetic changes. I can see why people reach for this idea of intelligent design. I can see so easily why people cleave so closely to this idea of a hand in all this, of an intelligent hand in all this, because it's bonkers. It's fucking nuts to think that life will adapt to its surroundings as a means to continue itself.
Especially the idea that happens automatically, essentially, because as humans, we're used to making choices about, what we do, how things work. And we're obviously not aware of our own evolution, as it happens very slowly. The idea that things just sort of happen over time based on conditions, and you don't have to take an active part in that.
And I think that's wild. At the core of it all. That's the one that's really baking me out this week. Is this idea that, hang on, what's making this decision to adapt? What's making this decision to continue?
I think about that all the time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see why people just go, well, God.
Right.
Yeah.
Evolution. Provide a little order in all of this nonsense.
Yeah. It's incredible to me. I mean, take sharks, right?
Okay. I love sharks. Let's take sharks.
Look, if ever there was a fucking, a JOAG fucking mascot, it's a shark, isn't it?
Absolutely. Any kind of shark. Obviously already goblin sharks, but any shark.
Great bunch of lads. There are, for a start, we are lucky in that the shark fossil record, right? The catalogue of shark kind going back millions and millions and millions of years, there are some species of shark, I'm sure you know this, but there are some species of shark which are essentially unchanged from how they were about 150 million years ago. Right? Incredible. For those particular species of shark, evolution, mutation, adaptation just hasn't happened. It stopped. Why would it? Because they've pretty much got it nailed.
Yeah, right? They're already perfect.
Exactly. So I kind of then start to think, what about us? What about mankind? We don't have any predators, really, any natural predators anymore. Nothing's fucking hunting us.
Yeah.
Thanks to these lads, thanks to our good old opposable thumbs and our, swollen cerebellums, we're the smart ones. We don't have any predators anymore. So what next for us in terms of evolution? Are we done? Have we stopped?
Right.
Are we now land sharks evolutionarily, if that's even a fucking word? Have we now reached the plateau of our adaptation? Do we not need to adapt anymore? What are your thoughts, Corrigan? I know that we spoke of this briefly last week, and you advanced the idea that it's neurodivergence that is, in fact, something evolutionary that is happening to us, that is natural selection, that is Darwinism.
Right.
That invisible hand moving us into pole position on an evolutionary kind of way. What if I were to tell you that physical evolution, physical human evolution is happening right now to people?
Go on. I mean, obviously we are in a rapidly changing world, right?
Yeah.
I think the reason that we were talking about this had something to do with some other thing that was evolving very fast, and it was wild that it was the wasps, the meat wasps. The idea of something evolving that quickly as a response to scarcity, or changing their habits, or whatever the case may be, developing enzymes, all that. So I don't have a problem believing we might be in the process of actively evolving in a visible way.
Well, we are, but the great thing is it's not all of us. There are changes, there are mutations happening in very specific, very particular groups of humans in a very particular set of circumstances. Let me just use the phrase high altitude adaptation.
Okay.
Right? Sure. There are certain particular human populations. So think Tibet, think the Andes, think Ethiopia. There are particular groups of humans who've acquired the ability to survive and thrive at altitudes above 2,500 meters.
Right. Yeah.
Altitudes that for, pasty, sickly Europeans like me would lead to sickness and inability to breathe, hypoxia. The rest of the human population would suffer really severe health consequences, but indigenous inhabitants of these regions absolutely thrive because of genetic changes in the way that they regulate oxygen intake, the way that they handle blood circulation, compared to general kind of low dwellers like you or I.
Right.
People who live and who have bred in massively kind of elevated communities have become fantastic at kind of regulating oxygen intake around their bodies in ways that we just can't do. Physical evolution is happening all around the planet.
Even like there's like the keto diet, that's like that. And I guess it's like eating like meat and stuff. I don't know exactly what it is because diets are dumb, but this is based, I guess, off of, and I'm doing this without any research. This is just, so take this with a grain of salt, but I do know that part of this ketosis thing, this idea of your body going into ketosis, is like based off of indigenous communities in like Alaska, like Inuit people and stuff like that. That
100%,
right, and that their bodies had to regulate like this and to be able to go into a state of ketosis because of what was available to them. They obviously don't have vegetation throughout the year that they can just eat, so they have to be able to survive off of meat.
Fuck all vegetables, right? And not just any meat. They don't just eat any meat. It's not like farm cultivated,
right? It's not cows, it's not pigs,
no sir,
whales,
it's fucking seals. Munching on seals, fat fucking seals. And you're so right. There's evidence from Inuit DNA shows very recent adaptations allowing them to thrive on their fat ass diet of blubber encrusted animals.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're talking seals, we're talking whales, full of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, and Inuits absolutely thrive on that shit. Genetic mutations allowing them to process this diet, which you get in just 2% of Europeans, but nearly 100% of Inuits.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you or I decided that we were going to just go full on fucking seal fat for our diets,
it wouldn't work well for us.
Fuck us up. No, it would completely fuck us up.
Yeah.
But check this out. Because a person's growth, right? A person's height is partially regulated by your fatty acid profile. This adaptation in Inuits has made them all short as fuck.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, they're short as fuck, but they can process fat in ways that no one else on the planet seems to be able to.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yes, it is. It's fascinating as fuck.
I love that.
Adaptations which are specifically designed to allow the individual or that group of individuals to thrive in their own circumstances, which in its way has led to me becoming very, very, very much more comfortable with what's happening with COVID, right? Because my thought process with Omicron, and we spoke about this over text, right?
Yeah.
I remember saying to you, hang about this mutation. Evidence is telling us that maybe it's a little less serious. It's maybe not going to fuck you up as badly as Delta or whatever else. It's just very, very transmissible. What if the next mutation makes it more virulent, makes it stronger, makes it more hardcore, makes it the killer version of COVID? Right. But looking into...
Yeah, and I think I was just sort of like I think I've read that scientists don't think that's how it works, but I have no idea why that is. I have no explanation for that. So I'm curious what you found about it.
All that I've found this week just makes you think, why the fuck would it? To quote a Jessica Metcalf, who is a biologist, an evolutionary biologist at Princeton. Quote, "The virus has no interest in killing us."
Right.
Virulence, as in strength, toxicity, fatality, how badly it'll fuck you up. Virulence only matters for the virus if it works for transmission.
Right.
Life finds a way. It wants to spread. How the fuck is it going to spread if it's killing everyone it came into contact with? Look at all the gnarly fucking, animal kingdom shit we've spoken about in the past. Snails with disco fucking eyes, zombie snails. That's all about just propagating the life cycle. Right. Yes, it kills the host. Yes, okay. But only in a like a theatrical way to ensure that it spreads.
Right.
Right. Like I've said, mutation, evolution, it's all about survival. It's all about propagating the species. All of my reading today, the only ways that COVID is realistically going to mutate is to make it more transmissible, is to make it better at evading immunity, or to make it stronger and more lethal. And of those three, the only ones that actually benefit COVID is the first, to make it more transmissible.
Make it more transmissible, yeah.
It wants to spread. It wants to live. And hey, who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? And I guess I'm definitely not one of those people who is like, oh, we're all going to get it, better get resigned to it. I mean, we might, but I think we should also be doing better to make sure that's not the case. But especially now, because we're still not at the point that this is like, just like getting a cold or whatever. It still kills people, especially if they're not vaccinated. But, there's something hopeful in that, I suppose, that as this thing continues, because it will be, it seems to be the idea that it's going to be endemic. It's going to be like the flu. It will come around in 5 years or whatever. The idea that it's just kind of like, oh man, I got the COVID, just like you say, I got the flu and whatever. I guess there's something hopeful about that. It just wants to live.
That's exactly it. On some level, it just wants to live. And when you look elsewhere in the animal kingdom at just what kind of mad shit is possible with millions and millions of years of adaptation and evolution, fuck it, give it a chance. I mean, have you seen some of the incredible shit that moths are capable of doing in terms of camouflage?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go on.
Insane shit. There are moths that look like wood, moths that look like twigs, moths that
moths
look
with
like
faces,
moths
like
with faces,
face wings.
Yes. And like you said, right? What the fuck is deciding to do that?
Oh, it's like that, like this thing on Instagram just shared something, but where there was like a flower that looked like a bird.
Yes.
In order to like keep predators away or whatever. And the Twitter user had been like, how does a flower know what a bird looks like?
Yeah.
Right? How does a flower know what a bird looks like? That is a wild evolutionary trait to make you
It's
look
incredible.
like something you've never seen.
And hey, look, I am not a geneticist. I'm not a biologist. I'm none of these things. But my understanding is that the moth doesn't know. Obviously, it doesn't. On a cellular level, the moth doesn't know. But one time, there was a moth that looked a tiny bit like a flower that didn't get eaten, so passed on its genetic material. That moth also looked a bit like a flower. Maybe, it didn't get eaten again and again and again and
its
again.
little
over
moth
fucking
babies
thousands.
didn't get eaten that looked like flowers. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Natural selection. That's
so wild. Definitely something we'll have to approach with Eileen at some point as well. Because there's a lot to that is absolutely fascinating. But hopefully this gives some hope to us and to you listeners that unless that hopefully this will become maybe transmissible but less deadly as it goes on and on and on, instead of just becoming disco COVID and turning into something that still finds a way.
Yes. For the first time, probably in the history of the internet, reading about stuff has made me feel better about it. Finding out more about evolution and about adaptation in viruses has made me actually feel way more optimistic about our future living with COVID.
Wonderful.